Good evening, everyone. So Emaar has just shared the details for the Valley Phase 2 or the Valley extension, and this is going to be a very important video where we discuss the merits of the information that has been shared with us. Not going to be an introductory video. I am sure you must have seen a lot of those already. I am going to be discussing some salient features, the pointers that stand out for me, and that would really help you make a good objective investment decision. As you know, I have been very careful about suggesting anything from the tier 1 developers of late, just because of the fact that I believe in some of the launches there has been a lot of forward pricing being done because the market is so hot, everything sells. So the prices do in some launches tend to be more than what their fair value should be, in which case you can't really blame the developers. Of course, they have their certain brand equity that they want to cash in, and no investor is eventually going to lose money, I think, in this market unless the project is really bad or the product is fundamentally wrong. But it's just that I like to pick the best of the available options. Now, this Valley Phase 2 I've been studying since a few hours, and this makes a lot of sense. I just went through Emaar'S presentation video as well, just gone through the brochure, broken down some important salient features. We're going to jump onto that. So 3 important points I'm going to be discussing in this video. Number 1 is going to be the location analysis. Location, most of you are already familiar with because of the Valley Phase 1, so I'm not going to develop a lot into that. But just to make you understand where the Valley Phase 2 is coming up. Number 2 is going to be, of course, the pricing, and number 3 is going to be the sizes, layouts, and the design of the community, which I think is the most important part in this new launch that is coming up. Alright, so this is a generic Emaar map in front of you on the screen right now. This is where the Valley Phase 1 and Phase 2 are going to be situated. This part over here that you see is Valley Phase 1, of course, and the Valley Phase 2 or the Valley extension is the one right behind it. Alright, on the satellite imagery, this is what it sort of looks like. Very interesting map to look at. So this in red is what the valley that we know so far, where Eden, Nara, Lilia, Offlade, all of these launches were Farm Gardens 1 and 2. This and the orange is where the Valley Phase 2 is coming. So right behind it, sort of extending more towards this part where the Mackles 2 is. Now, in terms of the location, this is in fact one of the most ideally placed communities, townhouse communities, where you can put your money in, considering the fact that it's situated right on a highway. We have discussed that initially as well. I think 8-9 months ago, there's a video on my channel where I'm discussing one of the launches in the valley. I discuss the location in a lot of detail in that video. You can go and have a look at that as well. But this is a very strategically placed location in the sense that if you want to go to Sharjah, downtown, north of the city, you have direct access to through this road, Al Ain highway. It takes you straight there in 25-30 minutes time. If you want to go to, let's say, the southern parts of the city or Abu Dhabi, this is your connecting road. So in terms of the location, I mean, it's a no fail, especially when you take into account that most of the development is now happening or going to be happening towards this land parcel over here, considering that this Dubai land is already taken up more or less. So in that sense, the location is very simple in terms of in and out. But this is where the Valley Phase 2 is coming up. All of this, the parts in the red are already sold out. This is the part that we are now going to be looking at. Few things that strike out just from a cursory look at the cluster plan or the master plan is that in fact this happens to have a lot more green space as part of the master plan, and this is we're going to touch very briefly in a moment. These two are going to be the first 2 launches here that Emaar has announced, and we are now familiar with the pricing as well. So before jumping on to the current prices or the launch prices that Emaar has shared, let's have a look at what the historical price trend has been in the valley, because now we have enough data to make some sort of a reasonable analysis of the price trend, because we do have that sort of price history to look at. For example, in 2020, Emaar launched the very first cluster at a price point of around 600 dirham per square foot. Now the market at that time was just entering into the COVID cycle. The prices were dipping generally as well. So, and it was a different market altogether. 600 dirham per square foot, that was the first launch. Since then, the prices have increased steadily over time. We saw a very steep increase in between 2020 to 2021. That's when The market in general performed really well when Dubai managed to come out of the COVID impact sooner than the rest of the world. Then we saw another steep increase between 2022 to 2023, and then 2023 to 2024 has been a steady increase as well. So from a launch price of around 600 to 650 dirham per square foot, the last launch at the valley was done at around 1,000 dirham per square foot. So this is the sort of price appreciation that you are looking at. Now, this can be an encouraging thing to look at in terms of the graph, in terms of the historic price. This goes to show a proof of performance of the community in the sense that the prices have increased a lot, significantly a lot. But at the same time, it can also be construed in a different way that the prices have already increased. So is there any room for them to grow even further or not? Or another way of putting up that question would be that is it too late to invest in this community now where the prices have already increased 50-60%? The answer actually lies in another set of data. So this is from some of the recent transactions done at the valley for Eden, which is the first cluster which was launched back in the day and now is being handed over. This is where people have started to, there has been a lot of secondary market activity going on over there, but now whatever is being bought at the current prices is what you can assume to have a more fairer price at which the end user are placing this product at. If you look at the median price over the past few transactions here, it's close to 1300 dirhams per square foot, 1260 to 1300 dirhams per square foot. That is now the fair market value that you're looking at for a ready product there. Bear in mind that this was not the best cluster to be launched at the valley. If you look at the sizes, for example, some of the smallest sizes, I think this and the first couple of clusters in the valley and also Arabian Ranches 3 is where Emaar really messed up with the layouts and the sizes. And now that the products are being delivered and people are having their first looks, it's not an encouraging feedback, at least from what I've been hearing from my circles. So this wasn't an ideal end user or a townhouse kind of product, more like an experimental layout where the developer is trying to keep the prices as low as possible considering the market situation, and then ended up compromising on the sizes and the layouts as well. But still, since these projects have been handed over, they're ready to live in, people are willing to pay upwards of 1250 dirhams per square foot up to 1300 dirhams per square foot for this community. Now, this is the sort of price idea that you can have in your mind when you look at what Emaar is launching this new phase at. See, secondary market is transactioning at 1300 dirhams per square foot. That shows what the market is placing that product at. Any developer would take that as the benchmark, go slightly lower than that, slightly above than that, because by the time in 2 to 3 years, these launches are going to be matured, going to be handed over. The assumption would be that the community would have matured as well. There would be more development around the community, and of course, the price would have appreciated more than what the ready products are transacting at right now. So if people are paying 1300 dirhams per square foot for a ready product right now, even if you assume just a 20% gain in the next 2 to 3 years, we are potentially looking at 15 to 1600 dirhams per square foot, conservatively speaking. Any developer, in terms of when they are pricing the product, would take that into account, the sort of a price projection and the current market fair value, and sort of settle somewhere in the middle. But this launch is being done at 990 dirham per square foot. Now, this is of course just a marketing number. Even if you are looking at, let's say, 1050 dirham per square foot or 1100 dirhams per square foot, I think this is a phenomenal opportunity, especially when you look at the product that is being offered. This slide was again shared by Emaar in their presentation, comparing their product to the competitors. Of course, this is Damac's recent launch, I think the Riverside one. Then this is the launch by Aldar, and another one by Damac. No developer would give you this sort of a price breakdown, price analysis, or comparative price analysis with their competitors unless they're sure of their pricing. And Emaar has always sort of tend to price up their product. This is a rare instance where they have a pricing edge as well over their competitors. Now, another very important piece of information to look at in terms of the pricing is the last launch that was done in the Valley Phase 1. This is sort of something that has been ignored and from the general discussion overall, I think. But if you look at the last launch, which was Lilia cluster in the Valley Phase 1, it was launched at a starting price of 2 million for a 3-bedroom and 2.7 million for a 4-bedroom. Now, from the looks of it, now we are sitting at a price a starting price of around 2.48 million for a 3 bed. Yeah, so from the looks of it, it might look that there has been a significant jump in terms of the pricing, but not really, especially when you look at the plot sizes and the built up area. These are the two of the most important things. For townhouses, I like to look at the plot sizes more than the built up area. That's what I focused on in my presentations for DMAC as well. And this is what I would look at here as well. When I came across Lilia's information 3 months back, I think it was done back in March, I was not too convinced, to be very honest, and I did not really very aggressively pursue this launch, because I think the starting price was, although the starting price was very decent, 2 million to get into it, but the plot size, especially for a 3 bedroom, was not really good. For a 4 bedroom, it was decent. So roughly speaking, you were sort of looking at a price point of around 1,000 dirhams per square foot, similar to what Emaar is doing the current launch at as well. If you compare the plot sizes here to plot sizes here, you would notice that there is a significant difference between the two. The plot sizes in the Valley Phase 2's first launch are significantly bigger than the last launch at Valley Phase 1. So this sort of gives you an idea about two things. Number one, Emaar has taken the feedback from the market, integrated into their launch strategy now. And number two, Emaar is perhaps within the same community, although they're calling it Valley Phase 2, but they are sort of coming up with a different sort of a design in terms of the community management, in terms of the community layout, and the floor plans of specific units as well. And this is where we're going to look at now. Now, we're looking at the one cluster that is going to be launched. There are going to be two clusters that are launching in the first launch of Valley Phase 2. Number one is Vellora, the other one is Venera. We'll look at both of them, but if you just look at it, from the looks and feel of it, you would notice that very luxuriously designed cluster plan, you know. In terms of, it's almost like it looks like a villa cluster altogether, especially if you notice the amount of open spaces that you're going to have, the distance between the blocks of these townhouses next to each other. So there are only 4 plex in the entire master plan, in the entire cluster plan of both these clusters. This would mean that the spaces between the townhouses are going to be considerably more than what we are used to. Number two, all the units are single row design. The cluster is designed in a way that no unit is back to back. 3 bedrooms, 4 bedrooms, all of them are single row. Again, this hints towards the overall look and feel of what is going to be delivered. It's going to look more luxurious, more open. You know, there's going to be a lot of empty spaces, open spaces between the houses, and I think the overall look and feel is going to be very appealing once it's delivered. This, by the way, this costs developers a lot of money. To design a cluster of this sort, they are compromising on a lot of space that could otherwise be built on and sold, right? So when a cluster is being designed in this way, it's overall there's going to be a more luxury feeling attached to the community once it's delivered. So this is a very encouraging step. And 4plex units also means that the corner units, or the 4 bedroom units on either sides of each cluster, each block within this cluster, they can almost be taken as semi-detached villas, because they're open on one side. There is a significant distance between one block to another block, and yeah, so considering the sizes, the plot sizes they are coming up with, the built-up areas as well, and now the cluster design overall, these could easily pass for semi-detached villas as well. So this is what you are getting. This is the quality that you're getting, and now if you juxtapose it with the pricing that is coming up at, I think it makes a lot of sense. You start to rationalize it a little more. Another interesting bit to notice at is that the styles. So there are, in this small cluster of less than or around 500 units, you are sort of looking at 8 different styles that these townhouses are going to appear like, right? So usually, you know, the townhouses in each cluster tend to appear alike, all of them, no differentiating factors. But in these 2 clusters, you're going to be looking at 8 different styles of houses. So that would add a lot of visually unique element to the property as well. Now, moving on to the community bit, the community overall is also very decently designed. There are a lot of natural elements that we are going to see, whether there's of course, meadows, valley, hills, forest, river, about 33 amenities in total. So Emaar, every new launch, with every new community, they sort of up their game. With this one, they're coming up with 33 different amenities. This is something very exciting to look at. This is how your general look and feel is going to be. In terms of the external facades, this is what 3 bedrooms are going to look like. this is what 4 bedrooms are going to look like. So these are 2 4-bedroom units that are being shown. Of course, they're not looking at of course we're not looking at the entire 4 unit cluster right now, but this is separately shown, the 3 bedroom and the 4 bedroom, to make it clear for the client. Now again, on the location bit, this is what you're sort of looking at. This 24 minutes drive away from downtown, which is very exciting. I mean, you have one straight road which takes you all the way to downtown. This is a phenomenally exciting aspect to have for a townhouse community, being this close to the downtown and still being priced close to 1,000 dirham per square foot. Keep in mind, especially if you are an overseas investors, there aren't a lot of townhouses or single family homes close to the downtown. Anything close by would be 15 minutes drive at least, and the prices there would be enormously higher than here. So you're just 24 minutes away, let's say 24 to 30 minutes away, and you're still looking at a very decent connectivity through this highway and an excitingly low price point as well. So if you want to see your connection to Al Barsha, which happens to be another hotspot with a lot of businesses, a lot of workplaces there, a lot of people go there to work, you are very much connected to Al Barsha as well. Al Barsha and Tigom happen to be about 27 to 30 minutes away, which is another exciting part. Now, in terms of the layouts, this is what you're looking at. They have sort of increased the livable space, the built-up area significantly in this cluster, in this new phase of the valley. Plot size has been increased as we discussed, but the built-up area has also been significantly increased. Now, very decent area for a 3-bedroom townhouse. They have added elements like the entry foyer, and your living area has been extended as well than the usual layouts that we are used to seeing from Emaar. With the 4 bedrooms, of course, these are going to be corner units, and you are looking at much bigger plot sizes, almost 75% bigger than 3-bedroom plot sizes. 4 bedrooms are going to be my pick for my investors. Of course, you would be spending that initial extra premium at the time of purchase, but I believe these 4 bedrooms or corner units in general carry a lot more value in terms of investment products for townhouses especially. So again, you're looking at very exciting layouts. They've done some changes with the layouts. They've closed the kitchen, which a lot of people prefer. It can be up to your personal opinion as well. If you don't like an open kitchen, of course, there can be a remedy to that as well. So overall, this is what you're looking at. A starting price of 2.48 for 3 bedrooms, 2.84 for 4 bedrooms. Of course, these are just the starting prices, so you would want to assume at least 5 to 7% more than these when you are submitting your EOIs. The EOI process has already started. In fact, it's going to live for only one more day, so we don't really have a lot of time if you are to secure a unit in this launch, or if not this one, then the next one. Of course, I just wanted this video to stay on the record because of course these are the first 2 clusters to be launching at the Valley Phase 2. We are going to have a lot more, but you would always want to put in your EOI as early as you can and be in the queue to be able to get a good enough unit, right? I am very excited about this, especially since I've been focusing a lot on this area over here. Done a lot of sales recently here as well. So the Valley Phase 1, to be very honest with you, for each of the clusters at Phase 1, I had my separate opinions. I was not a big fan of most of those clusters, most of those launches, especially done towards the last leg of the community overall. But this Valley Phase 2 has kicked off really well. The pricing is at least 10% cheaper than what I had expected Emaar to come up with, and the design, the overall look and feel of the community is much more enhanced. So you are getting into a very solid product. I am planning to do a video very soon, in a few days time, comparing the Valley Phase 2 with the Emaar'S 2. These now happen to be naturally comparable products because of their vicinity, but there are a lot of differentiating factors as well. So we will be looking at those. I think it's going to be a very interesting video. Stay tuned for that. Meanwhile, if you want to have a look at some of my videos for the Emaar'S 2, I uploaded one yesterday. You can go and have a look at that, or one earlier than that as well. Stay tuned to the channel. There is a lot more exciting content coming up, and reach out if you've got any inquiries, if you want to put in your EOIs, if you want to know the process of how to get a unit, or what process, through which process we can ensure that you get a good decent unit. Get in touch right now and we shall be happy to help.